Hey everyone, it's Kelly and it is time for another finished video, and today we are doing At the Met by Mirabilia. And this design, when I first saw it, I just felt like her design lent herself so well to representing an ancient Egyptian woman, and that is what I've always seen in her. And so when I first saw her, she didn't do a whole lot for me, and so I didn't think I was going to get to her anytime soon. And then I saw a finish by Letitia from the Crafty Curator, and I saw how many beads there were, and I knew that I needed to do it, but that I was going to have to make some changes to fit my Egyptian, I guess, idea of what she should look like. So I almost entirely changed all of her colors. All the design aspects are still the same, just the colors have been changed. And so I am going to go ahead and show that and talk about all the changes I've made and show some close-ups. And if I don't mention something in the video itself, make sure to check the description box, and that is where I will have everything written out as best as I can. For the most part, I stuck to the pattern. I may have made some small deviations, but I primarily stuck to what the pattern said. So make sure and check the description box if you're a little unsure about anything that is shown. And I hope you enjoy. I had a lot of fun and a lot of stress making her, but I am glad that I stuck with her and finished her because I think she looks fantastic. So here is the finished Egyptian conversion of At the Met. I'll do a little pan down first and then come back and start talking about her a little bit more. One of the things that I originally struggled with was picking the right fabric, because I knew that I wanted a fabric to kind of resemble what I would imagine, the stone walls of a pyramid to look like. And so I needed a fabric that was both dark enough to give me a good contrast with a white dress, and I also needed it to be light enough to give good contrast because I knew that I was going to be making her skin darker. And so I think I went through about probably at least like 6 to 7 different fabrics before I finally found this fabric. And this is a 32 count Belfast linen by Picture This Plus called Wren, and I think it turned out really nice. It has just enough modeling to it, and it's a really nice neutral color. And so I achieved my goal of making it look like kind of a rustic stone wall from a pyramid. And then my first and probably the biggest struggle I had was making her dress white. In the original, her dress is black, and just the design of it and the colors that they used, it makes sense. But when I wanted to change it to white, the shading of it became a problem, and I could have just done it all in white, but I didn't want it to look very flat. I still wanted it to have the little bit of dimension to it, and so I figured, you know, back in ancient Egypt, the cloth that they're using is going to be a cotton, and even as white as they would be able to get it, it probably wouldn't be, you know, bleach white. And so I figured doing kind of off-whites and beiges as the shading would be my best bet instead of going for a gray. Just the gray would have probably looked nice too, but I think the beiges make it a little bit more authentic, I guess, to what it would be like in ancient Egypt. So the coloring isn't, I'm still not 100% satisfied with it, but I still have the dimension that I wanted to keep in the dress, and it's very much still an obvious white dress. So one of the changes I made was her headdress. I think in the pattern it normally kind of comes all the way out to here, but I decided to just shorten that up a bit, and I just kind of followed what it was already doing in the pattern to make this part right here. All the golds and the white beads in this part of her headdress are petite beads. These blue ones, though, those are all normal size 11 beads, but I only use the petite beads in her headdress only, just because I already had them on hand. And I was a little worried about it being too cramped in there, and then I also thought the petite beads would make it feel, I guess, a little bit more delicate. But after beading everywhere else, I think the size 11s would have been fine in her headdress, and I know I think most people who have stitched her, you know, they stick with the size 11 beads, and it ends up looking fine. So I'll just do some close-up panning, and again, apologies for any shaking. Her hair, actually, I used the Anchor Black. It's Anchor 403. And that was the first time I've tried it, and so you can see that the coverage is pretty good for 2/2 on that light fabric. There's not a whole lot of show through. Some of those gold clusters in her dangling shawl thing, they could get a bit jumbled, and you just kind of find a way to make it work, and eventually they all fit in there. I think another minor change I made was, right in here, there's also supposed to be tassels, but I was thinking, you know, with her sash coming down on top of her dress, it would probably cover the tassels, even though it doesn't come out as far, so I just decided to skip it right there. And so then another minor change I made, sorry for the shaking. I originally started to do the coloring that the pattern had called for, you know, but with my substitutions, but I wasn't too keen on it, and so I decided to go with this coloring with the two golds and then the light blue, and then I also stuck a petite one of the white beads in between each one of, I guess, these tassel things too. I had originally thought that I'd do like a gold, white, blue, but when I laid it out, I still wasn't really liking it, but I don't know, I just kind of thought I would stick in that white bead. So, you can see it there. And then my signature, I went all authentic, and I looked up what the alphabet was in hieroglyphs, and so I picked out my initials, and I got lucky and had some easier hieroglyphs to chart out, and then Roman numerals for the year. So here's a final look at Egyptian at the Met, and thanks for tuning in and watching this video for the changes, and if you stick around there will be a short little slideshow afterward with some close-ups, and I will see you soon. Bye.